Dipty's with us now. Going to look at the French newspapers, of course. You're looking at Mali to start with, aren't you, Dipty? A military base attack there yesterday.
That's right. It was a deadly attack on a military base near the Nigerian border, leaving at least 5 Malian soldiers dead. Now it follows the deaths of 14 people Saturday in a separate attack, and last Thursday 16 people were killed in another explosion. Now this recent spate of attacks has really put into question the role of Opération Serval, which is a French military operation put in place 5 years ago to the day to drive out Islamist terrorists from the north. For Le Figaro newspaper, 5 years on, Al-Qaeda is still a, quote, gangrene for Mali, and French forces find themselves in a conflict that's virtually endless. Yet it began so well, the paper says, when François Hollande, then president, put it into place. What happened, Le Figaro wonders? Did France perhaps make a mistake by giving its unconditional support for President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta perhaps too soon, despite, I quote, his corrupt ways, his arrogance and disdain for the north of the country?
Let's go to Afghanistan now. We've been bringing you that breaking news about that attack over the last half an hour. But it's the third attack in 8 days over the weekend. This is one that killed over 100 people, this one, wasn't it?
That's right. The Saturday's attack was the third in 8 days. Now it's 4, as you said, with this attack early this Monday morning. At least 103 people died, and over 250 were injured in a suicide blast on Saturday. It's the third such attack. It was a third such attack, and comes as a security situation in Afghanistan is ever more precarious. Libération has interviewed a researcher who says this is due to a number of factors, notably the disintegration of local forces. You have the corrupt police who were poorly trained by the international coalition, and this lawlessness has left a vacuum which terrorist groups are so easily filling, not just in Afghanistan, this researcher says, but also in neighbouring Pakistan.
Let's talk about an issue that's cropped up in the French papers again. This is the issue of French jihadists facing justice in Iraq and Syria.
Well, we talked about it at length last week as well. This week we're talking about it because it does, that tricky question keeps cropping up. Should the government let French jihadists be tried and convicted overseas in Iraq and Syria in courts, or should they be extradited to France to face judges? Well, now the French Justice Minister Nicole Belloubet has told the French media that the government will intervene in certain cases, but only cases where jihadists are facing the death penalty. She says the government may be ready to negotiate with the country in question, but this will be done on a case-by-case basis, so it remains to be seen how they're going to do this.
Should we lighten things a bit, Dipty? Let's go to Le Parisien. They're talking about something a little bit lighter today. This is a rare super blue-blonde moon. It's going to be taking place this Wednesday, so no doubt we'll be covering it in the next few days as well.
That's right. It's the rare super blue blood moon. Now, it will be visible in the skies this Wednesday. It is a trifecta of rare things happening at the same time. You have a blue moon, which means it's the second full moon in the month. You have a supermoon because it's at its closest point to Earth in its elliptical orbit. And finally, the blood moon is when the moon moves fully into the Earth's dark shadow, giving it a kind of red hue. All of these things will be happening at the same time at some point on Wednesday, so get your telescopes ready. And
we'll all be looking at our taxi windows as we drive in the morning, as we get our drive in.
We'll look at it on the internet then.
We will, exactly. Then with some sports news. First of all, coming from the French sports paper L'Équipe.
That's right. It's a wonderful front page. They've dedicated their front page to one man who needs no introductions to it. He is, of course, Roger Federer. The Swissman won his 20th Grand Slam title this weekend at the Australian Open in Melbourne. L'Équipe, as you see here, calls him La Légende du siècle, the legend of the century. Quite a hefty title to take on, I guess. He did have to fight for this win, though, beating the Croat Marin Cilic in a spirited 5-set match. Federer, at 36, is now unrivaled. No other tennis player has matched him in performance or elegance. That's what L'Équipe says. He is the first man to hold 20 titles. Must be noted, 3 women hold over 20 Grand Slam titles. Margaret Court, Steffi Graf, and Serena Williams.
Excellent. Well done to him, Roger Federer. What a star. And we're going to end sports news of a different kind.
That's right. It appears that a new and high-profile person is moving to Marseille, the French city in the south, and I can't believe I didn't know this until this morning. 20 Minutes, the street paper reports that Pamela Anderson, Baywatch babe and animal rights activist, is moving to Marseille
Did you just say Baywatch Babe?
I did.
You did, didn't you? Okay, just
Don't
checking.
quote me on that.
Just checking. Okay.
Isn't that what they go? I'm sure they call them that in the 90s.
I think so, yeah.
Anyway, she's moving to Marseille to be with her footballer beau, Adil Rami, who's a defender with l'Olympique de Marseille. So she'll be a regular at his home games, at least. It's not easy living in a foreign country, of course. So 20 Minutes has put together a list of things that she could do should she get bored in Marseille, like trying out her acting chops on France's most famous soap opera, Plus belle la vie, which of course is filmed in Marseille.
Yeah. Perhaps she'll be running along the beach with her red float. They used to have those red floats.
Bringing it back.
Bringing it back, exactly. Tipsy. She's going to be there with her binoculars, looking at the moons and trying to spot Pamela Anderson as well. Tipsy back with the international papers in a couple of hours.